I'm Amy, sex educator, somatic sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com. Hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, y'all. So today we are up in San Francisco. We just recorded.
We've had a long day.
We've had a really, really long day. It's been a
great day for sure. A shameless sex killer day.
So last night we drove all the way up to Mill Valley. We stayed with Susan Breton. She was on our podcast for, I don't know what episode it was, but it was about like orgasms, how to have more, bigger, better orgasms.
And she was super just energetic and a really great, knowledgeable human. And she had asked us back then after we finished recording that episode if we wanted to she has her own YouTube channel and if we wanted to shoot some videos with her. And so we did that today. Yeah. Just short 5-minute little videos about different things. Mm-hmm. And she's just a character. She's such a cool human.
She's a brilliant. She knows her stuff.
She definitely is.
Go to YouTube, look up Susan Breton, and you'll see her better lover. She's the sex advisor to millions.
Hot sex advisor to millions.
Yeah. Go check that out.
And she has like free books and everything. But yeah, we want to give her a shout out because she's great and we adore her.
And we'll be on her YouTube channel soon. So if you're just listening to her voice and you're like, what the fuck do these ladies look like? Then you'll figure it out.
Yeah, we got lots of videos.
You could go to our Instagram. And with that note, our Shameless Sex Podcast Instagram, if you all don't know about the shadow ban, the shadow ban is a thing. So there's the SESTA FOSTA laws. After the SESTA FOSTA laws, which are trying to control sex trafficking. And I don't personally know if they're linked, but they have to be, that Facebook, who also owns Instagram, changed their rules about sexual content.
Tightened their policies on saying anything that has to do with sex.
So masturbation, anything about orgasm, pleasure, all that stuff. They now
even the word sex, we have a speculation / idea that the word sex is possibly affecting
they have
our
some
account.
sort of maybe something in there that they're hunting for. Anyways, there's sex educators such as ourselves and many other sex educators out there that are on Instagram that are there literally promoting sex positivity. They're teaching people the good things about sex or how to have better sex or safer sex are getting shut down, and it's mostly women, where there still are a lot of male-owned accounts that are very pornographic, very objectifying, just showing like women's body parts that are still up and running. So if you're not aware, we're not shut down. We're on Instagram. We can't post regular photos on there right now. We can do stories and we can do videos. And there are so many other educators where this is happening. And what we're doing is we're asking folks to still follow us on Instagram because we're still active on there, but to write to Instagram and let them know if you love us, that why you love us, how we've helped you, why you think that we should still be able to share the good word.
And P.S., our Instagram account is not filled with anything that is moderately offensive. We are only trying to put out as much positivity into the world as possible. There's no violence. There's no hate. It's all about love, sex, and pleasure. Mm-hmm. And we even censored some of our stuff. We actually removed a couple of posts that we thought maybe could be possibly offensive. And even though I didn't think they were and you didn't think they were, we felt maybe the powers that be at IG did. Yeah. So, and this whole red flag started with our campaign trying to myth bust different things about sexuality that folks, probably weren't used to hearing or having out in the open. So actually what drives me the most about this whole thing, which deep into my heart, is that those words were the things that got us flagged. And words obviously can cut deep, but we weren't posting anything that was moderately offensive. So we, understand that Instagram is owned by a corporation. We just want to be able to attract more listeners. Why? Because we want to help people. And that's our goal. This is not us trying to get money or,
Be the coolest people on
no,
Instagram.
I'm not trying to, I don't post selfies of me in 15 different locations with my lips flared. I am literally doing this because I have a love for spreading more empowerment, especially when it comes to being in touch with your sexuality and feeling good about yourself and having more orgasms, better orgasms. And not only that, but being the most badass human that you can be. And it just bums me out that we're getting shut down.
Well, and again, we're not completely shut down, but it could change. We could actually completely disappear. And what it feels like right now is that we're being silenced. Like we're the hysterical women that we're on our soapbox talking about whatever it is, empowerment, equality, orgasms, and that some people, maybe some the patriarchy came and took something and wrapped it around our mouths so that we couldn't speak anymore. But we could still get some of the message out there because we can do stories and videos, but they did take away a part of our voice. And so that in itself feels like really old patriarchy bullshit. And we're just really encouraging folks to, if you're feeling like you want to get on board, to make a statement about it.
And if you haven't or you don't follow us on Instagram, no worries. Do us a favor and go to iTunes and rate us because that does help people find us. And
not censored yet.
No. And remember, we are doing this for you, for your friend, for your mom, for your grandma, for your maybe your daughter when they're old enough, for your son or your transgendered human that you love in your life. And we are doing this because we love humans. So rate us, give us 5 stars on iTunes. If you're not into Instagram, that's cool. I'm not that into it either. So I do want to say a 4-letter word really hard right now, but I won't because
Cock
it's
balls.
not worth it. Yeah, those are good words to use. But you know what? With Instagram, it is what it is. So moving forward, shadow ban, fuck you.
Fuck you, shadow ban. That's right.
But you know what I don't want to say fuck you to? Because it's the
patriarchy?
No.
Yes.
One of the best things out there right now, changing tunes.
Is OMGS?
Fucking OMGS.
And you want to say fuck me. Yes.
Fuck yeah.
With my own finger.
OMG, yes.
Tell me about OMGS.
Because that OMGS makes me happy.
Yes.
It's just, in general, if you go to omgyes.com backslash shameless, you will get access and $5 off to 62 videos on how to masturbate / please yourself
Self-pleasure.
or someone else with a vulva. Mm-hmm. And it's just a tool to help you see what folks are doing. Because remember, vulvas, like we learned from Emily Nagowski on our episode with her, they're like fingerprints. Everyone has different bits and parts and arranged in a lot of different places and areas. But you might learn some new things about pleasing yourself or pleasing someone that you love with a vulva that you like to please too. So check it out. OMGS. You will love it.
And it's not even just if you just want to learn, if you don't really know how to masturbate. If you actually have a great self-pleasure practice and you have good orgasms, this can just enhance the experience of what you thought was even possible. So whether it's you want to have even stronger, better, or maybe you've never had an orgasm with your own body, or you want to learn how to pleasure a vulva, this program is for you. It's awesome. We're visual learners, so go check out omgyes.com /shameless. Is that what we decided? It's just shameless?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be shameless sex.
Damn it.
Try both.
You really got to see it.
One of them will work. We have to compile. We're working on it. Remember, we do this shit for free, y'all.
Just so you know.
Just so you know.
This is just for you.
This is for you.
We're getting banned on Instagram for free.
For free. For you.
Special announcement, Salt Lake City. April and I will be in you this Friday. If you're listening, in 2020, this doesn't apply to you, but Friday, March 15th, that is 2019. We are teaching at Blue Boutique. We're teaching our erotic superstar Step Into Your Erotic Power workshop, and it's open to everyone, all genders, all orientations. Come join us, come play. Go to blueboutique.com to learn more or sign up for the class. And they're also giving you a $20 gift card. So essentially makes the class $5. And you get to hang out with us. So please, please, please come. We want to hang out with you. And we're also going to be there. Part of the reason we're there, 1, we love Blue Boutique. 2, we love teaching. 3, we're there on a work trip, and I'll be there representing Uberlube. And you'll hear a little more about Uberlube in this podcast. If you don't know about Uberlube, stay tuned. It is, in my opinion, my expert opinion, the best lubricant on the market. Hands down. So stay tuned. You'll learn more. If you are in the Bay Area or Monterey Bay Area of California or Santa Cruz, April and I will also be teaching there. This is on March 26, 2019 at Pure Pleasure Shop. We're teaching that same workshop, Erotic Superstar. So go to purepleasureshop.com and you can learn more to sign up for our workshop. And again, we would love, love, love to hang out with you. All right, so we have a sex question before we go into our podcast. This sex question, I think, is a good one to have for this podcast. This podcast is with Midori. We'll talk more about who she is in a little bit and why we love her and why it actually touches a special place in our hearts.
There's a photo that you actually I think you posted. I don't know if you posted actually on the Sex Instagram, but you sent it to me, and I think it might be on my Facebook from years ago when Midori tied me up in some bondage, red silk rope. She did this like beautiful
body harness.
Yes. And I have a Volvo puppet in my hand.
Are you sure I didn't tie you in that body harness?
Did you learn how to do it? She didn't do it. Oh, maybe that's what happened. But you learned it was right after that, or is during the class, right after the class finished. But I have a photo.
Oh, yeah, I think I learned the body harness.
It was like 10 to 12 years. It was like a long time ago.
It was like 10 or 11 years ago.
So excuse me if my memory isn't, because I attended a class of hers, but it might have been right after that. You're right.
Is it on our blog? Did I put it on there?
Maybe it's on the blog,
which we're not.
I can't remember, but that just I hadn't seen her since. So
okay,
I just wanted to.
You'll hear
that.
why
She's cool.
it's kind of is a special place for us to have her here because we have some history with her through Pure Pleasure many years ago when we first got into the sex toy industry. So stay tuned, but we're going to talk about role play, dominance, confidence in the dominant role, sexy negotiation. She is a master when it comes to these things.
The coolest part, though, we talked a lot about the role play stuff, which I learned so much about, and there's some funny shit that's going to happen. So you have to listen.
Yeah, April had a great time. Just listen, it's good. So, but this sex question I think is really useful in this moment. So this person wrote us this question. They said, my partner and I, we're both non-binary lesbians, have been together for nearly 2 years, but we are quite new to the whole sex thing, both in general and with each other. Recently, I've been very sexually frustrated because we're both fairly shy sexually, and I feel like I'm always the one initiating. I want to feel wanted too, you know. I have expressed this to them, but we still haven't had much intimate connection, and I've been getting fairly irritable and sad. I want sex, but then I avoid initiating because I want them to initiate, and then we don't end up having sex naturally, and I end up sad. How do you suggest that I navigate this?
2 words. Role play.
Just nerdy, erotic.
Just nerd out and role play.
Batman and Robin.
I mean, no, that's not my advice for this, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. Because I'm like, the best thing to do is to get out of your, like, who you are. Like, if you and I were, you know, non-binary lesbians right now, and I was like, I don't know, I want to touch your boob, but I don't know if I can. I'm like, but if I'm Catwoman,
I can do anything.
Catwoman needs to investigate your titty.
I'm going to scratch you. It's a cat toy. And do you have any leche? You know why there's like this stereotype that cats like milk so much?
I don't know.
Like how often do we give cats milk?
Not that often. Well, except it maybe a baby kitty.
Oh, cat's mama's milk.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I don't know if cow's milk is recommended.
Yeah. I know, that's true.
I don't know.
All right, anyways.
We need to go milk a cat.
We just tangent.
Meet the Fockers. Circa 2000.
There's a cat in this house.
I know. You want to try to milk it?
No.
I don't either.
All right, coming back to the question. Serious, though. Okay. This is a common one. The issue of you initiate and I initiate, and we both want to feel wanted and desired. I feel like I'm initiating more. I think naturally what often happens in partnership is one person takes on more of the role of initiating. And I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with that, but what can often happen is the other person just still desires and have that person initiate sometimes at least, and then it feels like it's out of balance and someone is desiring more. They're left feeling like they're doing all the work. Some things about initiating that are interesting are that it kind of coincides with this podcast.
Does this also play into core erotic theme too a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yes. I mean, there's like the desire to feel wanted and desired. It can be a core erotic theme. And so, yes, if you haven't listened to episode 2 of our podcast from forever ago, we need to redo one of those.
Yes.
Go listen to that and you'll learn more about that. Speaking to how we want to feel as erotic beings being a really important question. But I mean, we've talked about this, April. We can initiate by barely even doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can initiate sex by putting on some sexy lingerie or like a little Batman outfit that with like a short skirt and walk by my partner really slowly and just like look at them, or like maybe drop something in the direction where I have to put my ass in their face and just bend over and grab it and keep walking.
Or if putting on
initiated sex.
clothing isn't an option, like you don't want to, maybe you don't have sexy clothing. Maybe these folks aren't, into that. I'm just saying for myself, sometimes what I do, if I just want to initiate because I'm not good at it, but I do make an effort to, is I'll just start kissing my partner, just like behind the ear and the neck and kind of like around like the clavicle, that like that area,
the
like
nerve
the
endings.
chest. Yeah, just kissing and kind of feeling the body, but not necessarily initiating sex or even with that on the table, but just feeling the body and then saying like, you don't have to do anything. I just want you to stay there. I just want to kiss you and feel like your skin on my lips kind of thing. And just sort of tapping into that. Yeah. I love dressing up and I think that's a great idea.
And it's not for everyone.
Yeah, but there's different options, right?
My example would be that we don't have to like speak to like, hey, do you want to fuck? You know, we can literally suggest sex by just showing up in a way that suggests sex. And then, and again, this isn't what this person is asking. They're not saying, how do I initiate? They're saying, I'm frustrated. I want my partner to initiate. So if your partner's listening, maybe this helps. But
taking sex off the table. How many times where it's not about the end result? Like, it's not about the sex. What about just deciding between the two of you for a little bit of time? Who like giving, receiving, who like, let's make a plan on some level.
I like that. And also my questions for this person is, have you two really talked about this? Have you sat them down and lovingly said, hey, I love being intimate with you. I've noticed that sometimes it seems like I'm initiating most of the sex and that's okay. And I still desire for you to initiate sometimes. So I'm wondering if maybe on the occasion you can take the lead on that, because that's really important to me to feel wanted and desired in that way. And then if a month goes by and they don't do it, then you have another conversation, or then you really maybe go to a sex therapist or whatever that is, but you kind of renegotiate or dive in again. But I'm just curious, have you conveyed how important this is to you? They're both saying that this person's saying that sex is kind of new for both of them. So I'm assuming you're just kind of in this like awkward phase of not really knowing necessarily how, and these are assumptions, but how to talk about things necessarily. Your partner might not be that confident. It might be a scary thing for them. So I'm wondering if you just shared the importance of it and then listen to the rest of this episode where you learned how confidence really can be just role play. Yeah, and confidence really just comes from kind of embracing the discomfort and the awkward.
And maybe it needs to change from feeling like a chore or this whole. And I know that a lot of times with folks that are like lesbian folks out there that are together, sex is a whole different thing. It's a whole buildup because vulvas. And a lot of times they take more warm up, they take more capacity to kind of get to an orgasmic state when, if there's maybe two male-bodied folks or a penis owner and a vulva owner, a lot of times sex is over when there's an orgasm by one party, and typically it's a penis owner that has that orgasm. I mean, and then you're like, wait, I'm not done here. I mean, this is what, I think a lot of us are used to. When you have two folks that have vulvas, they identify as lesbians, it can seem probably like a chore because sex is going to take a longer time. Mm-hmm. So maybe take the chore factor out and make it more fun and find different things that will bring you joy that doesn't necessarily have to end in orgasm. Maybe it's just going to end up in a fun fucking night with your partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have that conversation with them in a loving way, and also don't expect things to be completely equal. Like I said, it's pretty natural in a partnership for people to take on specific roles, but we don't want to get stuck in them because we desire to feel something new and different, not to always be the one that's initiating or the one that's making the other one feel wanted and desired. So embrace the fact that we take on roles, and that's kind of natural, but also advocate for that which you desire your partner to maybe try a little more of. So tell us, before I read the bio about Midori, Chip, how's that Margins wine over there?
I am drinking Chenin Blanc.
Chenin Blanc.
So we've had Chenin Blanc for a little while now because Megan Bell, who is the winemaker at Margins Wine. It's been totally sold out of everything else. But the good news is she just sent a newsletter out. I think it was a couple of days ago, which I received. She's got 3 new releases. And if you're on marginswine.com and you sign up for a newsletter, you get first access. And I think they're pre-selling and she will sell out again. So if you're listening right now and you like wine and you like boutique, small batched, really tasty wine that is, I think, at an excellent price point, she probably should charge more. You will get this. It's going to ship first week of April. So this is 2019 when we're recording. So go ahead, check it out, marginswine.com. I can't remember some of the varietals are some that I have never even tasted when I looked at the newsletter. So I know
there's a Pinot coming.
There's a Pinot, but there's another varietal. I've never heard of it. I think it's like an older world varietal, but regardless, it is well worth it. And if you've never tried wine, this is the time. If you're 21, you have to be 21 in USA. If you're in other countries, you can be 14.
Yeah, we just got an email from someone living in Ireland.
I know.
Hey,
so
Ireland,
like 15 over there.
Love you, Ireland.
I don't know if she ships abroad. Sorry, I think it's
my tangent.
Yeah, but Margins Wine, literally some of the most amazing small batch wine that you can get. So thank you, Megan, for creating what you do.
We love you, Megan.
We love Megan.
And so shout out to our friend who I'm not going to say their name, but we're in your apartment in San Francisco. Thank you for giving us your apartment
She's
to record
an avid
this
listener.
podcast.
She also does my bookkeeping. She does your bookkeeping.
She's awesome.
She's the best.
I love her.
We love her.
All right. Y'all want to hear about Midori?
Yes.
We're super excited for this episode. So, okay, I haven't really read this bio, so I'm probably going to mess it up 8 times, which I always do anyways, but just bear with me. So, Dan Savage calls Midori the supernova of kink. She is an artistic visionary who has touched lives across the globe with her expertise in sexuality, personal fulfillment, and kinky adventures. Using her head, heart, hands methodology, she facilitates tackling challenging topics and creating space where people are allowed individual self-exploration. Her passion is fully on display in her transformative small group intensives, including Rope Dojo and Forte Femme Women's Dominance Weekend Intensive and the Wanted Man Intensive with Marsha I think it's Bazinski. I know her, but I can't.
Yeah, Bazinski.
Bazinski. Marsha's an amazing educator, by the way, but we're talking about Midori right now. For more information on her upcoming classes and events, please visit fhp/inc.com/classes. Are you all ready for the world-renowned educator of sexuality, the author, the writer, the artist, the supernova of kink, Midori?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. It is episode time. This is a very exciting episode for us because many, many moons ago, when April and I worked at Pure Pleasure, I still am very much affiliated with Pure Pleasure, but when my mom and I started Pure Pleasure, and April was our very first manager there, one of our very first educators, this was like 12 years ago, 11 years ago, was Midori. She was one of the first people to come in and teach. I think we had one other educator. It was Jay Wiseman. And then Midori came and taught for us. So it was extra special to, I don't know if it's called full circle, but to now have Midori as a guest in the podcast after her being a guest or in Pure Pleasure, one of our kind of christening the sex education space for that space. So this is really exciting. Before we go into the podcast, I would like to do one quick shout out for Uberlube because we talk about Uberlube all the time on this podcast. We're obsessed with Uberlube. We don't really go into a lot of detail about Uberlube, and now we are going to. You've all heard about it. A lot of you have been ordering it, actually. Pure Pleasure has been doing a lot of Uberlube sales. And Uberlube, if you don't know, is a high-grade silicone lubricant that is a luxurious lubricant. If you look at the ingredients, it's very clean. It's just silicone and vitamin E, so it's very body-friendly, long-lasting, doesn't get sticky, no flavor, no scent. I personally want it all over my body. It's not that kind of lube where you're like, I need to wash it off. It feels luxurious. It feels nice. It actually moisturizes your skin. If you've never tried it, I highly suggest that you try a bottle. And most people, when they try it, they say, I didn't know lube can be this good. So go check it out at uberlube.com. If you use code shamelesssex in all caps, you get free shipping as well as 10% off of your order. And if you're also just ordering other sex toys and you want Uber Lube too, you can go to purepleasureshop.com. You get coupon code with coupon code shamelesssex in all caps. You also get 15% off. So that's if you're going to order other goodies. Otherwise, you go to Uber Lube's site and you get the free shipping too. So that's my little shout out. And now it's Midori time. This is just so special. And I don't know. Midori, I don't want to.
We're also sharing a mic again, so I'm only going to pop in when it's convenient.
Well, no, she's going to be here often. This is helpful because then we're not talking over each other like we do all the time. So right now, although she'll pull the mic out of my hand. But anyways, Midori, welcome to our show. We're so happy to have you here on Shameless Sex.
Happy reunion. And I'm going to do a selfie right now at this very moment.
Yeah, selfie on the air.
Okay.
Air selfie.
Yeah. It's good to be here.
Yes, we are so happy to have you here. You teach so many topics. This is something we're really, you do a lot about rope bondage, but you also teach, fellatio 101. You teach, no, you don't do that anymore. You did years ago.
I sat in one of your cunnilingus courses and it was amazing. I think it was how to eat a peach because we had to censor the name, but that was you were an amazing instructor. I was so captivated by just the way you presented too.
So that comes out of the background of my safer sex, smarter sex, grassroots outreach. And today there are so many other educators that are doing some really, really good things around fellatio and cunnilingus and foundational bedroom skills, which is fantastic. I love it that more people are teaching. So I am now teaching at a whole different level, which has been really exciting.
And you do, there's the Fort Femme, which is...
Forte Femme.
Forte Femme, okay.
Yep.
And that's feminine dominance, like an intensive?
It is. Yes. It's a 2.5-day intensive. So Forte Femme Women's Dominance Intensive. It happens in New York and San Francisco. It's 2.5 days of deep dive where women get to experience and figure out their place of authentic power, to tap into their authentic power from the bedroom to the boardroom.
Mm-hmm. And this is just for female-identified folks? Yes.
It's for people. This is how it's a little clunky, but this is how I'm defining who gets to attend. Because trans folks welcome, and it's for people who walk through the world dealing with the bullshit every day of being and living as women in this world.
I like that. I like that. So people get to make their own rules if they identify with that.
Right.
Like, I deal with the bullshit, so I should be there.
Yes. And so if you are somebody who enjoys occasionally dressing in women's clothing, and that's totally hot, but that's not the dealing every day with the stresses, the baggage, the bias, the bullshit, right? And so I've had trans women, cis women, whether they femme-identify or not. I've had butch women, and because of the way the course is structured, it's all about a program of self-discovery that is also supported by the cohort group. And this is a clunky definition, but I think
it, though.
It makes sense, right?
I like the bullshit aspect of it because it's true. The people that are walking through the bullshit every day. Yeah.
Right.
We all know if that's us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what genitals you have or how necessarily even how you identify. I guess it's just
if somebody says, well, what do you mean the bullshit you walk through every day? I'm like, may I recommend some of my other classes? Because that's part of the thing is how do we get to be true to ourselves and the complexity of our erotic landscape and our emotional states and our hungers when we're also dealing with all the different hats we have to wear in every day, whether we are partner or boss or employer, employee, parent, bestie, caretaker of aging parents, caretaker of small humans. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a perfect kind of segue into what we're talking about here, which we already did the intro here, but specifically talking about role play, dominance, and the confidence that comes with dominance. Regardless, I mean, we can talk about how it affects different folks who out and how they identify, their gender identity. But I think that this is a hard one for a lot of people, especially if they don't feel like it's ingrained in them. I'm not a dominant person, or role play is really scary for me, taking on a role that doesn't feel like it's me. And how do I learn how to do that if I want to learn how to do that? And so you're teaching people how to do that. So let's start with kind of the role play part of it.
Okay.
Go into that realm, and then we can move over more to like the dominance. And I know you have a lot to say about both of these.
Okay, so role play. Actually, I kind of want to roll in the whole role play as well as kink and dominance, because I have a definition of BDSM that will make a lot of sense for both. So my definition of BDSM is childhood joyous play with adult sexual privilege and cool toys.
Who doesn't want that?
Oh, that sounds magical.
So it's cops and robbers with fucking. When you think about it, it's cops and robbers with fucking, or Simon Says is a DS game.
Sounds way more fun.
And if we think of kink as childhood joyous play with adult sexual privilege and cool toys, and now let's think about role playing. When we were kids, we were geniuses at make-believe games. So role playing is essentially make-believe games with sex, right? You really just need the scantest of plausible plot line. I mean, we're not going for the Oscars here, right? So we just want to have a little excuse to have some fun. And I will often hear people say, oh, I feel silly. Okay, good, it's silly. It is silly. This is not serious. It's silly. Even when we're making serious faces, it's silly. So yes, it's silly. Yes, it's kind of dumb. And let's just embrace that and completely overact it. Be the supervillain. Be the damsel or lad in distress tied to the railroad track. Okay, the bed. Okay. So yeah, it is absolutely silly. And the basic ingredient is, okay, so you need, let's start with two people playing together, because you can always add more players.
I've never done role play, so I'm listening to these instructions because I'm like role play 101 student right now. So okay.
So there's actually a role playing classroom card game that I came up with. All right, so let's say if you and I were gonna role play. All right, and this little game would go something like this. You get to write on a little card, or just in your mind, right? But writing on the card is fun. Like 5 sex things that you might want tonight, and be willing to hear a no, because if you're willing to hear a no, you're likely to get a yes on something else, right? So 5 sex things, and I would have my own card that I write 5 sex things that I want, all right? So let's see, I would want you to go down on me. I want to go down on you. I want to, have lots of making out, giving and receiving.
And nipples.
And nipples. Okay. So specifying giving and receiving. So, I might write down those 5 things, and you write down your 5 things. We don't know what the 5 things are. And then with other cards, we write out what I call binary characters, person A, person B. Think like a simple plot line, cop and robber.
Doctor, patient.
Doctor, patient.
Teacher, student.
Teacher, student. So, and here's the thing, because these are make-believe games, that things that are really not appropriate in real life is okay, because an ethical teacher, no, we wouldn't do teacher-student in real life. But with consenting adults in the bedroom, it's all make-believe, right? So, well, let's see, pool boy. pizza delivery.
Gardener.
Gardener.
I love a
pizza
gardener.
delivery.
Can you come over? Can I see your house?
What about Uber driver?
Uber driver, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah. Let's
Boss
see.
and employee.
the
That
do-
is one for me.
the
that I
dog
know-
walker.
Yeah, the dog
Walker.
walker.
So someone's the dog and someone's the walker.
Well, hey, those doggy hoods, man. So binary characters, let's see, Clark Kent and Lois Lane.
Okay.
I'm thinking
Princess
Captain,
Leia.
yeah, or General Leia.
Ooh.
General Leia.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Batman and Robin.
yeah, Batman and
Chewbacca
Robin.
and Han Solo.
Oh yes,
Can
no,
I
yeah,
be Chewbacca?
yeah.
Oh my god, I'm already getting excited. Okay, wait, let's keep
Okay,
talking about that.
so yeah, and it could be, if you're into
Daenerys Stormborn and Jon Snow now.
All right, we're moving forward to tools. now.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, that's what's happening.
So, you can, so think in terms of binary characters, if you're into Harry Potter, if you're into, yeah. So all sorts of things. I, particularly like playing, given any alien roles. Yeah, because that's always fun. So, come up with binaries. The thing is, let's say Batman and Robin, right? But who's the top? We can't assume that.
So you're pre-negotiating these things before you go into the role play, typically.
A little bit of, yeah,
Okay.
just enough to say, so what about Batman and Robin?
Okay.
And just keep in mind, this is silly. This is absolutely silly. It is absolutely stupid when I'm taking a black scarf and wrapping it around my neck and then taking like, a Halloween Batman mask and I'm like, I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Come here, Robin. Bend over, Robin.
Are costumes recommended just to feel like do you need to pre-plan this then?
Sometimes costumes can be the fun thing, especially if you have like time to plan it. And
Right.
like, yeah. And, let's say I ordered from, some large online company,
And you got it delivered that day?
delivered a Robin outfit to you.
I mean, I imagine that'll help you to drop in for this. So what you're saying is essentially so I'm just going to like cliff notes. The quick thing that I've heard is kind of like embrace the awkward.
It's completely awkward. Yeah. It's completely awkward. It's completely stupid. It's completely an excuse for us to muff dive and fuck like bunnies or fuck like bats.
And I like
In a costume.
Well, I like that point that you made in the beginning about when we're childhood, we have these like wild imaginations. I remember like role playing different stories when I started having erotic fantasies when I was like 10 and playing them out in my head, just like walking in circles in my backyard because I was an only child, nothing better to do. and now my brain doesn't work that way because I don't take the time. It does work that way. I just don't take the time to go in there.
Yeah.
But you're saying like get creative, go in there and be prepared for the awkward.
Yeah, I think that would be hard for me to prepare for the awkward because I get so in my head about, oh my God, like, are you judging me right now? But I guess if you're in a costume would help me get into that character.
Especially if we were both in stupid costumes.
And if we were both in stupid costumes, I would love that.
Yeah.
So what if a partner asks their partner, say, hey, I would love for you to start wearing some sexy Batman gear. And it's super sexy to me. Can you somehow just surprise me with some sexy Batman gear one day? And you're absolutely terrified. You feel like you're not a good actor, actress, however you want to, whatever you want to call that. You are afraid of being in the spotlight. You don't feel like it's you. It's not going to be authentic. What do you tell this person? We talked about embrace the awkward, but how does this person step into this role confidently?
Okay, and I'm hoping both partners are listening to this right now. Yes. Because
All parties.
All parties. Yeah, because hopefully maybe you have more than two. That'd be nice. Hopefully all parties are listening to this. Hello out there. Don't let this be a surprise because that's a bad awkward, And when you are feeling awkward, uncertain, you can't, you're going to be judged. If you're able to just go ahead and say that. Say, okay, I want to do this, but I'm going to feel really awkward and I'm going to need you to really lower your expectation and cheer me on along the way because otherwise there won't be a second time. I even put it like that because, yeah.
Sort of speaking to what's true. Like, this is really uncomfortable. I'm so open to playing with you in this way, and it might be awkward. And here's what I could use to make it a little bit more playful or easy. I think that's a big thing. A lot of folks that I work with, they get these requests, even if it's not a role. It's just that a partner says, "Hey, can you take on more of the sexy role?" And that in itself is a role to them, because a lot of them don't identify as sexy, and so it doesn't feel authentic. So it's really scary for them, but they want to be able to show up in some way, or meet their partner in some way. But their question is, how do I do this in a way that's me?
And maybe if you're with a person that has a fantasy that hasn't shared it with you, this is it's an invitation for you or that person maybe to share. I've had this doctor-patient fantasy. Would you be into dressing up like a nurse and pretending to kind of go through, an examination?
Anal,
Maybe.
black nitrile gloves, hot.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Plenty of
or
Uber
blue.
lube.
Yeah. Plenty of Uber lube.
Yeah.
And lots of warm up, even though that's not what doctors' jobs are.
I'm happy to be
Thorough
examination. I'm happy to feel like that it's okay to be silly, because that's something like it is always serious when you're in a when you're thinking about being intimate or sexual, or if you're talking about, oh my God, I know that I want anal sex tonight, but you could twist it with like this doctor-patient scenario.
Proctologist?
Yes.
All right. Well, so what about this kind of, I guess, crosses over into confidence, I guess, but then into the dominance role. So we're speaking more to there's the role play that we're talking about, like, the Batman or the doctor, or who's the top or the bottom. But what about for dominance? What is tapping into your most dominant self all about? What does that even mean?
Well, if we bring that back to childhood joyous play, then dominant or dominance is not something you have to be all the time. That's a hell of a lot of pressure. And there's enough in everyday life that gives us enough pressure, so why go there? What if just right now, I could be the Simon Says? Just right now to play the boss in just this limited capacity. And that's really all that it is. So if we can bring it just down to that, it takes a lot of pressure off. I mean, there's enough pressure in sex and as well as just everyday life. Why add any more? So keep in mind that dominance is not about a personality trait, which some people will be shocked with. It's not even how you have to be all the time. It's just right now, who's taking charge and being bossy in our sex life. Just right now. And then that also means that there's an end point. Because if you're engaging in being bossy beyond the point in which we've agreed to, well, that would make me an asshole, and not the fun kind.
Well, I tend to, in my relationship, take this submissive role, right? However, I feel like I'm a badass in regular day-to-day life with like running a company and having, this amazing podcast that obviously is adversarial to a lot of folks out there. But I think it's important that when you're in the bedroom, it can change. And my role, even though I do take on this submissive thing and that can turn me on, it's also really hot to think about being in a dominant state. So I think for the listeners out there that perhaps maybe are in a state of being more submissive most of the time, maybe they could try to be dominant and maybe they can incorporate some of these things.
And keep in mind that a person is not a dominant or a submissive. A person chooses in the moment to submit to somebody or to dominate somebody. And that linguistic shift is really important, because if I said, I am a dominant, well, first of all, I sound like a jerk. And second of all, I'm putting on a pressure to myself of all the time, I have to be in charge, grr. But what if instead I said, tonight I want to dominate you?
Yes, please.
Right? Or I crave to submit to you. Right? That's personal. It's full of desire. It's also temporal.
Super sexy and hot too. When just being told that, I would be so stoked if my partner said that to me, even though he tends to be the dominant character in our, our scenario, our sexual experiences. So that's hot. I want to try that tonight, but I want him to say that.
Hopefully make it home in time.
Yeah.
So it's a we can go
Yeah.
into this temporary role. We don't have to like become it forever.
Think of it as appetite, right? Think of it as dominance and submission as a hunger and an appetite. And if you ask for what would feed you, you might get fed. If you speak your appetite, you might get that need met. If you don't speak it, you're never going to get it. And if we think of this as an appetite for dominance and submission, or appetite to play Batman and Catwoman. Ooh, Batman and Catwoman, that's hot. If you want to play Batman and Catwoman, or if you want to play enjoy dominance or submission by saying that this is what I crave for now, and let's say we do that. And if we do it well, the desire is now diminished until I'm hungry again. So in reality, if you play well, at the end of it, you're going to be in a different mood. So that would mean that you can't be, I am a dominant, a submissive all the time, because life is too complex.
So how I believe that we've received a number of feedback from listeners that are desiring, and I'm going to speak to, I think this is mostly female identified folks, desiring their male identified partners to go into a dominant role, and it's not happening. And I mean, of course, we don't want to force someone to go in there, but how would one learn to take on this role? Again, kind of like we talked about with role play, where it's really scary for them. They might not identify, especially in a culture, if we're talking about, about men, we're talking about like the nice guy versus the creepy guy, and that whole thing. They're trying not to be too much on one side, but we can also even talk about like the nice girl versus like the bitchy girl, and trying to fit in the middle there. How does one learn to go into a place of being more confident and dominant in a way that again pertains to who they really are?
I wish I could answer this easily, which is why I have a multi-day intensive. So
Cliff Notes,
the Cliff Note version of it is, let's keep it contained within time and consent. So I define a scene as a shared experience that is bounded by time, space, and consent for the purpose of creating an entertaining change of state. And if our shared objective is, let's have entertainment. And what would entertain us now? What kind of mood do we want to go to? And particularly for the nice guys and the nice gals, the condition of engaging in dominance and submission may seem counter to their living philosophy. Right? I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice girl, I'm fair, I'm just, I listen, I collaborate. Well, all of that is actually happening before play by having a little conversation, by setting a little bit of boundary about how are we ending this? What's the safe word? What kind of mood do we want to go to? By having that little collaboration at the beginning, we are acknowledging the good guy, the good gal, so we can play the villain temporarily. And I want to talk a little about consent, which is something I'm assuming that you guys talk a lot about. Yeah. I want to introduce a new phrasing on this. There's consent. There's enthusiastic consent. The next level is engaged collaborative consent.
What does that look like?
So, how can I be enthusiastic about role playing I've never done? Yeah. And it might be that, oh my God, I have to be excited about this, but I'm actually feeling uncertain. I want to play with you, but I don't know where we're going. And I might feel awkward and feel stupid because, oh my God, role playing is new to me. Okay? But what if we talked about engaged consent, which means, okay, do you want to try this with me? It could be really awkward and we could really make a lot of mistakes, but would you be willing to engage in this with me? In other words, are we equal partners in this? That it's not just I ask for your enthusiasm and you must give it back to me 100%. Also, collaborative means, all right, how are we going to do this? Okay, who's Batman, who's Catwoman, and who's really topping? And
Catwoman's topping.
yeah, right. Yeah, because the bat's always had a thing for the cat.
We know.
Totally, right? And so there's a collaboration. The thing is, sometimes scenes in play don't go as well as we planned, or sometimes it goes far better than we even imagined. I like engaged collaborative consent. All parties are responsible for showing up on the playground together. Yeah.
So is this something you recommend for folks like this is the first time we're doing role play in this conversation to have this conversation, or for people who are doing this, once a week or once a month or something, to sit down and get kind of clear on this, this enthusiastic consent of like, what are we doing here? Where are we going? Who's in charge? I mean, is this something you recommend people? And I mean, I would imagine you can make that part of the role play too. Yeah.
Seriously sexy. To talk about, and I'm not talking about a dry negotiation because, that's boring. But to have, sitting down with your beverage of choice, snuggling up, or maybe it's at some fancy restaurant where you really can't do anything and all you can do is talk about it to get each other's juices flowing. It's essentially about talking about desire for the other, right? And to talk about the parameters of what are the things we want to do, keeping always the joy and the desire in the center. And let that conversation turn into a flirtation to build up the desire. It can also be, combined into your hot, fabulous sexting. Why not? Because what's good sexting if not for fantasy making?
I'm so bad at sexting. I am the worst sexter. I'm like, oh, this looks weird. Or, I don't, without photo, because I refuse to put my, naked body parts.
Yeah, sure.
On the interweb.
But what if the sexting were, okay, again, between you and I, if we were doing this, and if I texted to you, if I were Batman and you were Catwoman, what would you do?
I would start dying laughing and I'm like, okay. Which is okay. That'd be good.
Right.
I'd have to get over the awkward, my awkwardness, because I am slightly awkward. Everybody that knows me well knows how awkward I am.
In a text, you can be all awkward before you, and yeah.
So just kind of drop into that to be like, okay, Midori's Batman right now and I am Catwoman. Okay, I'm going to wear this hot latex skin tight suit and maybe there's a hole cut out in it. I don't know, somewhere for penetration. I don't know. That sounds hot to me.
Okay. So now you don't have to even finish your sentence.
Okay, good.
Right?
I can just
so
leave it at that.
It could just be.
I need serious
and
coaching.
there's a
with
hole
sexting.
cut out, and then I could say, oh, and then I could text back saying, what about 4 holes?
Oh.
Back at you.
Die. I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to get married to you right now because that was hilarious. And amazing.
Right? And so this is how it could go. And now we're actually fantasy role-playing in text.
I always think it has to be so serious.
No, it's stupid and awkward.
Okay, that's so helpful. And so that could really start, it could just start with sext.
Yeah, it could just be, it could just be, if I were the pizza delivery boy, if I showed up tonight at your front door and rang the doorbell, though I might have a key for our home.
Doesn't matter.
And I show up.
Or the French maid. I've always thought about that. Is hot. Yes. With the accent. I'm really good at the accent too.
So if I showed up, now let's say we share a domicile. I have our key to our front door, but instead I show up with a baseball cap and a hoodie and a pizza. Right? Ding dong. Did you order pizza? It's stupid and it's funny. And you open the pizza box, and it's not a pizza, it's a dildo.
Oh, yes.
With the harness, and you're like, special delivery for you. What would you do? Well, so you're essentially saying there's room for all of it. There's room to have aroused, like I'm like I can still get turned on by what you just said. There's a big dildo in the pizza box. I can also laugh because it's kind of silly, but I can also be a little turned on by the banter.
Well, I'm sure too, when you start engaging in these role play scenarios, you get better and better. And then you really, because just practice obviously is perfect. And then you can get more kind of tuned into that and make it more of like this act, and then just have this like get out of your body and not be you. That I think is awesome. That's what it's all about. Not being yourself for that time, right? Being the pizza delivery boy or fucking Princess Leia or General Leia or whoever. That's
Exactly.
the stuff. That's the magic.
And if you lose track of the plot and it just ends up on messy sex on the floor, that's a win.
Still a
That's
win.
called a win. No, it's totally a win, not a still a win. It is the win. Okay?
Never. So the Catwoman suit never made it on. It only had one hole and never even put it on. And we still had sex on the floor, and that's fine. Maybe next time it'll come on, and that's okay. I like this. This is new because this is like the human condition. I think a lot of humans think that there's one or the other. You know, there's sexy or awkward, and you can't have both, or aroused or awkward, but you can't have both. I can't be turned on in the awkward and feeling the my body and my pussy pulsating and all this stuff while being like, this is fucking weird and crazy and silly. And I love that. It's just a reframing for the brain to allow spaciousness and speak to all of it.
And laughter is some good drugs for the brain.
Oh, God,
you know?
the best.
So, yeah, even awkward laughter. And then, especially if all the participants are in awkward laughter.
Oh yeah, the laughing until you cry. I love that.
So about dominance, then I think that so coming back to that one. So you're saying ways to kind of tap into that confident place is essentially just embracing what is true, what is there. And then knowing that you're taking on the roles for this specific amount of time. It doesn't have to be something that you fully identify with, but for this little window, you're taking on this role, and then you can go back to whatever it is that you want to go back to. Do you have any other advice for folks who are looking to maybe tap more into their inner dominant self?
Posture. Posture. Okay, so for the listeners and for us here, I do this exercise called Queen's Walk, but it's also set up with, okay, right now, wherever it is you're standing, sitting, etc., and if you're driving, and just be careful. Give me a schlumpy posture, and it's got everything, shoulders rolling forward, everything saggable, sagging, it's like collapsing. Okay, now imagine your sweetie is kneeling before you. Does this work for you? No. Straighten out that spine. Put your head on top of that spine, shoulders back, tits up, and throw in a couple of Kegel exercises while you're at it.
Ooh, I like that. A couple of those comments. This is kind of like what you talk about power posing. Yes, that the body. If we take on the role, our sweetie will believe it, but then we believe it too. We're like, oh, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah, and just slow everything down. And the nice thing about the reason we're slowing it down is it gives us more time to figure out what the fuck to do next.
Love
now
that.
you know my secret. Okay? When it sounds like this confident slowness owning the space, it's like, I don't know what to say next.
Yeah. Inside, you're really freaking out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thought bubble versus what's outside. Yeah.
I'll speak to that. So my partner is, he takes on this very strong, dominant, confident role very easily in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. And what he does when he speaks, I can't say this is the same for in the bedroom, but outside the bedroom, when he speaks, he's a great public speaker. He takes very long pauses. And in it, to me, it says, that guy knows what the fuck he's doing, because he's like so confident that he can take his time to really think inside. But inside, he's sometimes is saying, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's something that in that we can actually seem confident by taking more spaciousness, by not really knowing what the hell I'm going to do next and if I'm going to make a mistake, but I'm just going to take my time.
You got it.
We got to slow down, Chip.
Oh, I know. I struggle all the time. I always am the one that's trying to fill in the void sometimes if there's like a long pause in a business meeting. But I've been with, time and practice, getting better at embracing the pauses, both in even in sexual experiences when there's a pause or it's not like hot and heavy and the emotions are so yes, I'm like, okay, wait, I'm gonna embrace this and tap in. It's so hard. It's a practice, like anything, like yoga or running.
And before we start to worry about this being a practice, the basic thing is straighten your posture and throw in a couple of Kegels.
Yeah.
Okay, that we can all do. And whatever bits you got between your legs, those PC muscle exercises, well, it'll put a mysterious grin on your face.
It really, that's, when in doubt, just do some Kegel exercises. If you don't really know what that is, everyone, when you're mid flow of urine and someone's about to walk in the room and you need to stop that flow, that is a Kegel right there. That is your Kegel exercise. You're tightening the pelvic floor and you just did one.
Oh, we've talked about that before. Our listeners know.
What if they're new?
Okay, if you're new, now you know.
Welcome to the podcast if you're new.
Yes, welcome. You chose a good episode. So that's your sexy negotiation right there that you've talked about before, that you're making negotiation sexy, not just this dry, dull process. And part of that is embracing the play and the lightness of it.
I like what you said about, though, don't think of it as a practice, just like don't think of it as a negotiation, right? Because those things don't sound very sexy.
It's not, yeah.
Like, ooh.
Yeah. And in terms of pre-play talk, it's about getting the juices flowing. And in terms of pre-play kink talk, I actually have a really beautiful long conversation method, but not going into that now. Some couple of useful highlights is, all right, so if I were playing with you and we're going into that awkward role play, oh my God. So awkward. Yeah, awkward. Okay. So I might ask, I would ask, so when let's say bondage, right? Let's say if you like being tied up and you tell me that you like being tied up, then I would ask, when it's good for you, what will I see and hear? And when it's not good for you, what do you look like, sound like when bondage isn't good for you? And for me, when giving bondage is not good for me, this is what you'll see and hear. And when it's good for me, this is what you'll see and hear. Mm-hmm. What do you look like and sound like when that thing is good for you? Mm-hmm. What do you look like, sound like when it's not good for you? And sometimes I'll have people say that, I'll let you know, I'll say for it. At which point I'm like, I would like to know what you look like, sound like, before you get to the point where you have to tell me. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course I want you to tell me. I love it that you have a safe word, but can you tell me what I will see and hear? Because this will give me a faster opportunity to salvage our experience to better.
Mm-hmm. And that just resonated, one, as sexy negotiation for me. Two, as like kind of a little bit of a dominant thing too that you could play into, talk about role playing dominance of like, no, I need you to be really clear with me. What is this for you? And that in itself, as part of the negotiation, is kind of could be a dominant. Well, of course, you can do all kinds of twists and turns with it, and I can see why it's helpful. Now, my question is, what if they don't know? What if they're like, I don't know?
And when it's like, I don't know, it's like, okay, let's make the best guess possible. What about in a little rough sex? When you're enjoying a little rough sex, what do you look like, sound like? So to at least get the person thinking about it. And if my partner were to say, well, you'll know it when you see it. No, do not that's shirking responsibility. I think it's great if somebody said, well, I'm not sure, but my best guess is I think my eyes will be squinted shut. Because I tend to squint shut, or my eyes will be popped open, or I'll be making sounds, I think, but not words, or, I'll be chattering on. I could be wrong. That's my best guess.
I know my hair will look absolutely insane because it does. Like my sex hair gets crazy.
Yeah.
People would think I was homeless if I walked down the street afterward.
But doesn't help me to know when it's too much or you want more.
Doesn't, but that's what I know that it would happen immediately.
Still doesn't help me any more information. Give me more information now.
Rash occurs on my chest, neck.
Now that
Yes.
is
So
fantastic
it's like a
information.
red,
Yeah.
Yes, like mark that comes to me every time I'm super turned on. It's like without even trying.
So let's say if you and I were hooking up, right?
I
And
love
that,
this. Midori keeps going back to hooking up with me.
April's turned on.
Woohoo! So if I didn't know this information in the middle of whatever it is we're doing, and you got this rash going on,
You're like, are you allergic to me?
I'm gonna stop.
You're having a reaction to the cake we ate earlier?
Yeah, I'm totally gonna stop because I'm thinking I need to like treat anaphylaxis in a moment. And at that point, you're like, okay, that was a buzzkill.
Really, she was turned on and wanted you to keep going, but she didn't tell you that.
And that could very well be for somebody else. It could be a look like, sound like, really bad.
Problem. Yes.
Yeah.
Like she's having a problem. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And asking me, yes. I would, I mean, and it only lasts for a little while too, but it's funny because it does happen. And I'm like, oh,
So you're really telling Midori because you think you're going to sleep with her right now.
yeah.
It's good
Like
information.
just FYI, Midori.
Hi, hi. Now imagine this kind of information being dropped on a date dinner. Yeah, I have this funny thing that happens during sex. I get like this rash on my neck.
Is this first date or like third date?
Sure,
I know,
why
I mean,
not?
Yes. I probably would just have to share it then.
Some people would be like, so you're saying there's a chance?
Saying you got a rash.
Or it could be a texting moment saying, "Hey, honey, right now I'm thinking of you, and I seem to be getting a neck rash."
Yes, because but it is true though. That then I am super turned on, and
Right.
I am like I just either had an orgasm or I'm about to, or I'm just so excited that my skin is having a reaction. So
Right. So
that's pretty awesome
and
to know that.
that would be kind of a hot sexting little shorthand.
Yes, I'm getting a rash right now from you.
Which is funny
good
because everybody else will think that is really weird and not sexy, except that particular sweetie in question will be like, "I know exactly what she means.
That's my rash."
It's our little secret code, right?" Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Kind of just running with what you really got, what's really true, and it might be a rash, and it might not.
And and it's one of the exercises we actually do in Forte Femme is, can you name your symptoms of pleasure? Tangible, concrete, observable symptoms of pleasure. Because if you can tell that to your sweetie, then you're giving them all the clue on when you're having a good time without having to say, yes, it's good, don't stop. Because
There's the rash. I see it. It's growing. I'm doing a great job. Yes.
right? Whereas, like, if let's say somebody is crying, is that a good thing, bad thing, otherwise?
Yeah.
Maybe they're having like tears of orgasmic catharsis. Maybe they're having trauma tears, to call the therapist. Or, true story in my case, is this pillow made of feathers? I'm actually allergic to feathers, and I'm fucking face down in your down pillow.
Oh God.
Then
So-
you really do have a rash, and you're
Right.
like, that's not a good rash.
And the mascara running raccoon face is not the like sex face. It is, I can't breathe, get the fuck off of me now.
oh God.
Mood kill.
Anaphylaxis setting in right now. Where's my EpiPen?
Right? So, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm crying. This does not mean you're a good lover. It just means that your pillow's made of down. Yeah.
So tell us more about your workshops, your intensives that you said, the Forte Femme, and
Sure.
yeah, tell us more about what you have available.
So Forte Femme, I do that in San Francisco and New York. And oh my God, what's really cool too is that I've got an alumni graduate society, and they organize their own event. Oh, we just had an amazing play and sex party of just alums and guests. That was great. And we're getting together for a private boxing class.
Whoa.
Badass.
Yeah, totally. I also have Rope Dojo, which is a 2-day rope bondage intensive, and we focus on connection and play. it's not a macrame class. It is about how to play hot with rope.
Is that for folks that are a little bit more advanced in bondage
No.
rope play? No, it can be for anybody.
Requirement is, can you tie your shoelaces?
Oh, well, there.
People, you can go.
Yeah. If you can tie your shoelaces.
I wear Velcro. No.
and you can follow some basic instructions and willing to try some new things, great. It's also good for more experienced people because for them, I expect them to pick up the nuances in between, right? Sometime over the next year, and this is 2019, as we're recording this, I'm hoping to introduce the Leading Man Intensive, which is the masculine version of Forte FM. I'm still working on it. I'm not willing to commit to a launch date
A
yet.
little bit like Forte Om.
Yeah, Leading Man.
Okay.
Leading Man, yeah. And so whether you liked in the bedroom play a white hat or a black hat, yeah.
Where do people find out information about all these workshops?
Well, let's see. My newsletter's great. My overall website for education is fhp-inc.com. I know that's a little awkward. I'm also on all the social medias as at Planet Midori. And so, Planet Midori.
You have some amazing books too. I think 4.
Yeah, I have The Seductive Art of Japanese Bondage, which was the first English language instruction book on shibari and Japanese
There's
bondage.
beautiful imagery. And
Thank you.
yes,
And we didn't
gorgeous.
think it would, back then, it wasn't, rope bondage and Japanese rope bondage wasn't a big thing. So we didn't even know if the book would be popular. It's been in continuous sales for near 20 years now.
Yeah.
I've got Wildside Sex, the Book of Kink, a bunch of essays. I have Master Han's Daughter, which is filthy cyberpunk.
Yeah, love
Filthy, dangerous cyberpunk. And the latest book that we kickstarted, myself, Laura Antonou, and Cecilia Tan, is Silk Threads. In the meantime, I'm also working on my next bondage book, and I'm working on that and funding it through my Patreon,
Nice.
also at Planet Midori.
Awesome. Midori. She's actually going to a gala tonight, everyone. Midori is
She's an artist. You're an artist.
you're an amazing
I
artist.
am.
We were looking at some of your work before you arrived because
Yay.
I was just like so enthralled with some of your what you're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
since I met you the first time so many years ago.
Yeah, and I've got a gala at the Asian Art Museum, and I had the pleasure of being able to show and collaborate and be commissioned to do work for the Asian Art Museum.
Yeah. But my question is, do you sleep with all these roles that you do? You do so many things.
Oh my God! It's hard to keep up on all of it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
That's why you're slamming the Earl Grey tea.
you bet, you
I'm
bet.
drinking wine. She's drinking Earl Grey.
Like, do you want any wine? She's like, no, I have a gala. Oh, Midori, thank you. This is special. I actually really enjoyed this because not only did we kind of have some serious connection with the potential of sexting later, now I know how to do it. I learned some amazing things also about dominance and yeah, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. And if you're out there in listener land, check out Midori, check out her website, and click the link. We'll have all of the information to find her, and her books are always available at purepleasureshop.com. Most of them, but if you want some, you can always put in a request. We can find them for you. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in this Tuesday. We'll see you next Tuesday. Ciao for now.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.